What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. This is part 3 of our T5 swap conversion. So without further ado, we got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into the video right now. So as you can see, the pedals are just an absolute pita. Cousin Paul in here just busting his tail on these things. I mean, it's best to take the dash out. Without the dash, this is a complete nightmare. This is probably the worst part of doing a T5 swap. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my my template. I'm gonna mark this out. I'm gonna cut this real quick and mount the lower shifter boot bezel. I made an outline of what kind of give you an idea. You gotta give your shifter base enough room to move, because this is the late model one that they sell in that kit, and it's okay, but you got to dig up all the spot welds and all this stuff, and it's just not worth putting this in unless you really wanted to. You just clearance the shifter base and just let it ride. All right, so what we're gonna do is we actually have a wire in the pinouts from another T5 harness that we went ahead and salvaged, and what I'm gonna do is the neutral safety is these middle two between the orange and the gray. I'm gonna add these two to the harness like so. It'll just click in since I've already got the lockout. You can see I'm gonna weave this in, and at the bottom down by the grommet I'm gonna add the neutral safety to it. So now it'll have its neutral safety, VSS, and of course the reverse light. All right, we're still rocking. It's super hot. It's like 95 degrees here in Ohio, which is awful. I mean, we don't ever really have weather like that. We got the 4 clips from the original AOD. You see I clearanced it. I went up about 1 inch from where it was at. Gave my shifter base plenty of room here to move, and the transmission's gonna move a little bit, so it'll be fine. And this late model thing is really nice because it actually lines up with the AOD's rear two pretty much for the most part, but I'm gonna have to sheet metal up front, which is no big deal. I mean, that's a normal thing. And then I'm gonna take a rubber mallet and kind of form it to the floor. It keeps all the nice fumes out of it or whatever. So we did the T5 harness over here. We added the neutral safety to it, and we weaved it right in. Me and Paul are gonna actually get that thing into the car now, and we're actually gonna get this thing screwed down and keep moving. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys that there's a grommet, and you can see it back there next to the accelerator cable. On an AOD swap to 5-speed, the AOD cars, the mechanical speedo cable comes through the firewall adjuster mount would go to. You see what I mean? So on an AOD swap, you got to actually take the cluster and move it to that hole, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but you got to make room for the pedals quadrant and the cable and the adjuster. So then you can mount it on the frame and run the cable underneath the motor mount to get back to the bell housing. It's hard to see because of this stupid strut tower brace, but we got the mount in for the UPR. You have to actually pull the rubber mounting thing off of the new cable so it can slide through the actual adjuster. The nice thing about Fox bodies is they came AOD or 5-speed because it already had, the bracket already had its hole, his little set hole here, and this is like a 10mm sheet screw. So I'm gonna get this screwed in. I'm gonna bend this bracket back a little bit to keep this away from the header because it'll burn. And I've routed the cable underneath of the motor mount, which will go straight back to the bell housing, get clipped in, and then I can make an adjustment from down underneath at the fork. So that will all be done. Now we've already, like I said, moved the VSS cable over to the next grommet for the cluster. You guys can see how like in-depth we go when we decided to do a T5 swap. I mean, we got this stuff ripped out like we're parting it out, but we've parted out cars for so long that we know where everything goes. So let me show you these pedals. We set the quadrant up, you can see on these new pedals, but one thing you got to understand, this is the pedal position switch, and you can see the quadrant comes back and hits the switch when it's not engaged. And then on the other side, you got the neutral safety, which I think I showed you guys earlier. Paul does a really nice job when he restores these pedals. So we're gonna go ahead and get these pedals in because that's pretty much the last thing we need to do. And then we needed to make a bunch of adjustments with the cable, and we gotta repin the O2. So we should be able to start putting everything back together then. Okay, we're continuing to put the pedals in. Went in pretty easy with the 15mm. Cousin Paul's getting ready to do the brake switch here. I wanted to show you something. AOD equipped cars behind the airbag, 87, 89, same thing on this little frame. you got to pull this out. There's a jumper on it, okay? This is your pedal position switch made by Ford. It's a Ford jumper. Every car is equipped with the jumper if it's an AOD. So I'm gonna unplug this, okay? The jumper's open. Now I'm gonna come down here and using this plastic piece, come down here. Pedal position switch. Voila. See that? You gotta do that. So it has a factory hole right here. It's actually right above the accelerator pedal. Here you have it. See it? Done. Now on the other side, neutral safety. Kind of the same deal here. There's two neutral safeties up in here. They're hidden up in the harness for AODs. See it? One's clear, one's black. I'm sorry if you can't see it very well, but there's a jumper. They only go in one way. So I gotta undo this jumper. I gotta plug it into this box, the two spots. And then your neutral safety will be connected. Just to give you an idea of everything that's out of the car, I mean, this is like most of the interior. But I mean, I think we're doing it the right way. This is the way I like to do it. This is my way. And I think it's the right way. So now I'm gonna get underneath and I am going to try my best to get you as much video as I can. But since we changed the computer to a 5-speed, we gotta go under here. Excuse me. We're gonna have to slide under here. I'm gonna have to locate the O2 harness, which should be right about here. And I am gonna repin it for a 5-speed. So I gotta dig it out of this little hole right here. And no big deal, easy peasy. Okay, so I got you underneath here. If you haven't checked out my other O2 video, you need to check out my O2 harness video. But you can see here, this is actually pin AOD 5 to 6 is what I like to call it, pin outs. So I'm gonna take the red lock loose. And since this is a 9193 and I used a 9193 computer, I need to pin this out from 1 to 6. So I will move this right one here up. So that will give me the pin out I need. Usually 8789 is like 1 to 6. Excuse me. 8789 is pinned out just a little bit different, but this is the blue and yellow wire, so this is pinned out for 91 to 93 5-speed. I know I've confused you, but just follow my lead. Okay, so like I said, I've already done it. It's kind of hard to video. I don't want to set it down and hit it and whatever, but you can see how I jumped it over. I moved one side up. This is specifically 9193. It goes from pin 1 to pin 6. If it was 8789, it would be like a purple and yellow wire, and it would go pin 1 to pin 5. So this bottom one would be moved over. So anyways, we locked it up. We're ready to go. Okay, we jack stand the car up. We went ahead and jack stand the car up. We're at the point, we're at the transmission. I'll show you some of these harness pieces that we just, this is the VSS, goes in one way. Boom, all cleaned in. This is your neutral safety. And remember, this is that reverse light switch. If you didn't have this loop, you wouldn't be able to start your car. This isn't found on an AOD. You have to buy this separately or get it with the kit, like the kits I sell. This goes in here, clips in. The nice thing is this T5's got that little hole here, so you can make a nice little zip area. You know, that little clip doesn't work, but you know, we're gonna zip it right there to keep it out of the way. And of course, the neutral safety, you know, that we added to this AOD harness. Now we're gonna go ahead and plug that in here. All one-handed, look at that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and secure everything up. Harness is all in place, reverse light, neutral safety, it doesn't start unless you mash the pedal, and the VSS, all set, ready to go. All right guys, don't mind the shirt off. Sun's out, guns out, super hot. But we're gonna get this thing done. Cousin Paul's in here checking everything. We're gonna do a quick fire, see if it'll fire up and run. Runs real good. Now we had an NSS problem, neutral safety. We're gonna have to figure it out. How I figured out we had an NSS problem is I put the jumper back on. So technically you're supposed to push the pedal in before you can start the car. So we're gonna try to monkey with that later on. We know the car runs. I know the computer works. It was a guaranteed, I just know the computer works. So it's a good 5-speed and everything looks good. All right, we're on day 4. We're pretty much at the point now to where me and Cousin Paul, Cousin Fred are taking this car and putting it back together. So we're gonna clean the floor real good for him. We're gonna put the carpet back in. We're gonna put pretty much the whole car back together. The reason why I'm adding this to the vlog is because we had a neutral safety switch problem. You guys seen it yesterday. Basically, all we did was take the neutral safety switch apart and we cleaned all the contacts of the inside and we put it back in and it worked just fine. But we had a good confirmed like newer one, so we just left the newer one in because we wanted to make sure that was the issue, because the only other reason why a T5 swap wouldn't start outside of the neutral safety switch would be the reverse light switch underneath where that red loop wire is that I was showing you guys, because that directly affects the coil and stuff. So anyways, we are getting ready to make the push to put all this back together. I got a clutch adjustment to make a little bit later, and we're gonna take the car for a test drive. I'll put it on here. And that'll be pretty much it. I'll tell Ryan that, you know, the car's done, and I'm sure he's gonna be super excited to drive it. Well, we got everything in. Gonna have to vacuum a little bit and clean up a little bit, but we got everything in. Looks good, just like it was when it came here. So we're gonna go take it for a ride down the street, check the clutch adjustment, and we're gonna go with it. All right, here we go. Make sure I don't back into my black car. I think it needs a little more clutch, but it seems to ride pretty good. I can hear the rear end winding like he had said. Nice and straight. Gearing down, feels good. Excellent pedal. That McLeod is so light, but that's the same as my twin disc. My twin disc is the same way. It's just like very little to no pedal effort, you know what I mean? So we're gonna take us around the block. Tweak just a little bit after it wears in at about 250 miles or whatever, but A+. Like butter. Got up to about 60, 55 miles an hour, no shuddering, no vibrations. Feels good, man. Enjoyed the video. One more thing I wanted to add to this video is when you swap to a T5, the AOD lock on the steering wheel is different. Like the little white, there's a little white button underneath, and it releases the column. Not a big deal. It's this white button here. So it's a little bit different, but I think it ran amazing, and I'm very happy with this swap. Good job, Cousin Paul. Good job, Cousin Fred. This is what we do. This is how we do it. We live and breathe Fox bodies every day.